In the late 70s, I was a newly minted mechanical engineer at an Air Force base, and they asked me to be the base energy conservation monitor. So the first thing I did was, I said I have to get my arms around the data. So I went down the hall to the accounting office, and I said, well, I want to understand the utility bills that we pay, and immediately found all sorts of problems with bills we weren't supposed to be paying, and some of the bills indicated some leaks that no one knew about, and we were on the wrong rate schedule in some cases. So it became immediately obvious to me that utility bills can help to eliminate billing errors. Interval data is somewhat useful in that arena, but really utility bills are the center of the bullseye for eliminating billing errors. The second one is fast processing of utility invoices. End users who have a lot of real estate get a lot of invoices. They want to process them quickly. They want to minimize the expense of processing, either in-house or outsourcing. Interval data doesn't do as much good there, but of course utility bills are what we're talking about. The faster we can process them accurately, the more money we can save over what might be the incumbent method. Make wise energy purchase decisions. We need this kind of information in order to make the smartest procurement decisions. Primarily, that's utility bill data. Interval data helps us a little bit, but generally, if we have good utility bill data, we have just about everything we need. Probably find our best supply vendors. Another one, campus chargebacks, cost allocation rebilling. On a campus like Georgia Tech, the university is in large part running the utility system. They are reimbursable buildings on the campus system, bookstores, hotels, things like that, who have to pay their own utilities. So we need data in order to be able to process those chargebacks and to bill our customers or our tenants. And in most cases, we need a mix. We need utility bills because we need to know what in this case, the university is paying for the incoming supply. We also need some sub-metering or some interval data to understand the consumption of the individual buildings. Number 5, uncovering account ownership errors. We find this all the time with multi-site organizations. Some of you probably have anecdotes about that. I've seen some over the years that have been really just hilarious, where a very large organization is paying the utility bill for a building they no longer own. In some cases, they haven't owned it for 5 or 10 years, but there's been a disconnect between AP and real estate, and the person who's in the building today thinks it's a pretty good deal. I don't get any electric bills, but I'm not going to ask. And some of these problems go on and on for a long time. We need utility bills for that. Interval data is really relevant to that discussion. Motivating occupants to conserve. We can use interval data in that regard. We can use utility bill data in that regard as well. There's companies out there that really make this the focus of their business, the whole idea of behavior change and motivation of occupants. Benchmarking, identifying the outliers in the data. A lot of organizations today simply use Energy Star for that due to legislative mandates. So that's one way to do it. Of course, if you're using Energy Star, you have to get the data into Portfolio Manager, and that in itself can be a big effort if you don't have some kind of data platform that can interface electronically with Portfolio Manager. So for benchmarking, utility bill data can be used. You can take it to a certain level with benchmarking data like Energy Star, but interval data can take you deeper into benchmarking. So you can really use both kinds of data there. Greenhouse gas emissions reporting, green energy credits, things like that. You can do much of that with utility bill data. You can merge utility bill data with EPA's e-grid system to get a carbon footprint for your organization, at least attributable to your utility bills. Interval data is of some use, particularly if you have solar. A lot of organizations sub-meter the solar because you want to break that out when you're doing the GHG reporting. So there's a role for both kinds of data there. Energy Management, F&B, measurement and verification, that's a whole career field for some people. Doing the measurement and verification of savings attributable to energy performance contracts. If you're doing option C, which is the whole facility approach, option C basically says compare today's utility bill with the pre-retrofit utility bill, making adjustments for weather and so on. That's based on utility bills. So option C, M&V works very well with just utility bill data. And if you can use option C, that's a really cheap way to get M&V done. You have utility bills, weather data is cheap and generally free and easy to obtain. And with those two inputs, you can pretty much do all of option C other than the baseline adjustments. They take a little bit more work, some engineering judgment. If you're doing option A or B, retrofit isolation, then you're probably going to need some kind of interval data or sub-year data. Number 10, improving budgeting, accruals, accounting. These are all value streams that don't occur very much to the energy manager, but the accounting department. These are real life problems that accounting departments have. Doing the month-end accruals for organizations like grocery chains that have monthly or fiscal period P&L that they need to do. So the accruals become important, and doing the accruals accurately becomes a big deal for the store manager whose performance and bonus are based upon the P&L. And if you don't get that right with the accruals, you can have a retail chain where you have 200 store managers on the phone every month wondering why their numbers look bad. Because the energy piece can be very substantial. And if you don't get the accruals right, it's going to get someone upset. So that's a real value stream that some organizations need to pull out of their energy data. And we primarily use utility bill data for that. Interval data can be helpful in taking accruals and budgeting to a whole nother level, although I see very few organizations that are that sophisticated. Generally, utility bills are good enough.